Hello, hello, hello. I'm having some technical issues with my earring. It keeps falling off, but Merry Christmas. And we have a wonderful guest here today. We have um, Lisa. So I'm going to have to put this down for a second. We have 𝒔𝒐𝒎𝒆𝒏 Jones with us today. I'm very happy to have
Wow.
her. Lisa Ministry, I like to call it, but her company is called the Caring Leadership LLC, correct, Lisa?
I.K.A.R.E Leadership
The
LLC.
iC.A.R.E
Yep.
leadership,
Yeah.
yes, and we're going to be talking about that, and then also what I am going to do is share with you Lisa's her bio. So I want to do that. I'm telling you. So as you guys come on, welcome. We want you to become a part of the audience. Make sure that you give comments. I know this is the holiday, so a lot of you may see it afterwards. But we are so excited to be here with you
Yes.
on. This is the last Friday. No, actually, we have another Friday. This is our last. Uh, I guess next to our last Friday before the new year, 2022. I just can't believe it. We have made it through an entire year. It is so
Yes.
powerful, and I'm thankful. And Lisa is definitely my last guest. I'm going to take, yes, you are my last guest. I'm going
Okay.
to take
I'm honored.
probably about 3 weeks before I come back to get some things organized, and I'm excited about that, about how I'm going to do exhale with Regina as I invite
Yes.
guests on, and just seeing what else. One of the things I'm telling myself is what worked and what didn't work, and try to
Mhm.
move from there. So
Yeah.
let me just pull up your bio real quick, Lisa. And
Sure.
then Lisa, if you can go to your phone. I don't know if you have your phone with you, but share it with people on your private page, and I'm going to try to do the same as well.
So I just go to my Facebook page and just hit live and then let it just go.
Yeah, you can go to your Facebook page and hit live for sure. Yeah.
Okay.
And of course, now that I want to just pull it right on up, Lisa, I'm not so let me just take my lovely, 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 lovely time here. Um because I think I'm at um nope, I'm at the wrong one. Hold on, Lisa. I'm gonna pull up your bio, and you're gonna move from there. Hold on. So yes, if you can just share that real quick, that would be wonderful. So I have on my podcast today, I have Lisa Yvette Jones. Um, and I'm just going to read just a little bit of her resume, her bio. Lisa is the Chief Caring Officer of iC.A.R.E Leadership LLC. Lisa, also known as the Caring Leader, supports high achieving, aspiring, and seasoned professional women leaders to maximize their leadership influence while holistically transforming and humanizing the employee experience, head, hands, and heart for self and others. Lisa brings decades of award winning leadership mentorship, coaching, training and development, and formal training experience within the federal government and private sector. As a three, as a stage 3 cervical cancer conqueror, and after releasing over 200 pounds, Lisa
Yes.
challenges leaders to tap into their influence superpower of self-care. The journey of self-C.A.R.E, capital, okay, cultivating authentic relationships to empower begins with self. As a leader, self care is not weak leadership or a selfish leadership, amen to that, but
Yes.
it is necessary leadership. So, welcome, 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 Lisa, to Exhale with Regina. And
Thank
so glad
you.
you are here. And
Oh, glad
yes,
to be here.
yes, this is great. So, I just want to talk a little bit about Tell me, how did you get started with your brand, and how did you start calling it 𝑖C.A.R.E?
Oh, wow. So, for years I had, and for years I'd been a leader. And so, one day I was asked the question by, my director, and he said, what is it about what you do that makes your team just love you? And, it's just something about them, and he was joking with me, but he said something. He said, I'm jealous. What is it? And then I said, well, that's a good question. Why don't we ask them? And not only the current team, but let's start calling the team members from all around the country who are now leaders everywhere in their own right and in different positions and even higher positions than mine that I've mentored to. So I started asking them. And the one theme that came up over and over again is, you care about us.
All
You
right.
care about us. There is nothing we wouldn't do for you, Lisa, because you care. And that's when it hit me. You know what? They're successful because someone is showing that they not only care about who they are as the professional subject matter expert, but that I also took into consideration that they come to the employment experience as human beings. They're being grandma, they're being nana, they're being mom, they're being dad, they're being all of those
Yes.
roles. And as a leader, if we fail to see our team members holistically, we have failed as leaders. And I realized that that is something that I was doing without even thought. Okay, because I'm looking at a person who's a human being. Why wouldn't I treat them in the total capacity by which they represent themselves every
Yeah,
single day?
that's really powerful.
Thank
I
you.
know, as a person who comes from not only a nonprofit background but also a corporate background. I know that is one of the missing ingredients.
Mm,
Leaders showing that they care.
yeah.
Sometimes it can be all about the numbers, or all about meeting deadlines, and
Mhm.
leaders are in meetings over and over and over and over. At least the leaders who, like you, identifying it as a role. Uh, but tell me, would you give it a more expanded definition than looking at it from a role perspective?
And if I'm hearing you correctly, am I hearing that you want me to expand more about who I think the person is? Tell me a little bit more about what
The
you.
leader, like, would you, in terms of definition, a lot of times a leader is defined by the role that they hold. And what I was
Absolutely.
asking, would you go beyond that? Is that, do
Oh,
you just define it by the role, or would you go beyond the role?
absolutely beyond the role. A title does not make you a leader. Hear me clearly. Your title does not make you a leader. Over and over, subject matter experts are placed in positions because they know the job, but no one takes the time to make sure that they have their emotional management together and their people management skills. And year after year, day after day, people are leaving jobs. Studies are showing it over and over and over again, that in the high 90 percentile, that people are leaving their positions not because of money, not because of pay, but because of who their bosses are. They're leaving because their bosses do not see them as whole people. So here's the
Yes.
thing. Here's the thing. If you think for a moment that your title makes you a leader, I have come to knock on you and to disrupt that, because it does not. It does not. We have to realize one of the things that the president said during his inaugurational speech. He said, we must not lead by the example of our power, but by the power of our example.
That's
Okay, so
powerful.
that was powerful. When I heard that, I said, that's who I am. That's who I am. And then who I am in this role. Listen, I'm not threatened by anyone in my role as a leader. I bring people up to where I am, because here's the thing. You mentioned something about leaders being in meetings. I have to be in meetings all the time. I need
Yes.
to know that my team is functioning without me being there and not falling apart. So guess what? I need some mini me's walking around there, but more than mini me's, I need them to step up into their leadership power and then do the role as if I'm standing there, or, and you walk into that. When I am not present, I always tell them people should just miss my wonderful personality, but they should never miss the fact that the work is getting done. We are producing, we do meet the deadlines, and we are top notch in what we do because that's what we're called to do. But we do it holistically. We do it knowing that there are margins with that. So I tell team members, even, still too, if you are not having a good day, then everyone is going to be affected by that. So let's check in with each other so that we can see what we need to do to make sure that you can be balanced in that area, of checking in. So I know I kind of went a little bit off that
No,
because
no, that's fine because really you're saying that there is really no I in team.
there isn't. Together, everyone achieves more. We saw that. You see that in the acronym all the time. There is no I. Okay, yes, I was hired to make sure that the mission of the agency, is done, and it is, we are producing and doing what we need to do, and what have you. But here's the thing. Yes, and I've been given a number of people to help bring that mission to pass. How I handle that is going to determine how well we do it, how effectively we do it, how powerfully we do it, while the person still has their dignity, can still feel comfortable in their role as a person. I hear that, people give me stories all the time about how I didn't have this in my last job. One young lady told me that she said, Lisa, I'm not used to you telling me to take the day off if I'm not feeling well. And I said,
Okay.
well, I'd rather you be at home than here because you won't be as effective here. She said, well, in my last role, I was in the hospital and my supervisor called me. I've been in the emergency room all night and said, your client is going to be here in an hour. How much longer do you think it's going to take for them to take care of you? While she was in
Wow.
the emergency room. So she had to
Wow.
leave the hospital, get to that appointment, and her supervisor was very upset with her. I was mortified. I was mortified because here's the thing. I would have been at that emergency room with her and say,
Yeah.
what can I do to be of assistance to you? And
Yeah.
someone else would have been reassigned to that case. Yes.
There was a situation that happened on my job where a security guard, this is when I was working in a psychiatric hospital,
Mm,
and she was extremely, extremely sick.
mm.
And I said to her, "You need to go to the doc. You need to go to the hospital. You sound really bad." And she said, "He won't let me." And I said, "Who won't let you?" She said it was her supervisor, and she said, "I've asked him, and I don't really have the time." And she was literally leaning over the desk. That night, Lisa, she died.
Oh,
Yeah, she
so sorry
died.
to hear that.
And so
So many stories like that.
it just really, really
Mhm.
have shown me the importance of being an I care leader, as well as knowing that no job should have that much authority over your life.
None.
And so, what advice could you give those who do struggle taking off work, and those who feel like if they get fired, and right now we're in a new day and time,
Yeah.
people are just automatically quitting, and
Yeah.
they were thinking that it was because of the unemployment. Well, unemployment then pretty much ran out. That's not the case at all. It just seemed like people became more awakened to their power.
They did. And with people with this pandemic that is going on now, people became more aware of what's important. Your family is important. When you start losing loved ones from this pandemic and you start losing friends and they were with you 1 minute and then they're gone, people started realizing, wait a minute, I matter. I matter. So if others don't see that I matter, then I am going to have to make some sacrifices. I am then going to have to rethink this, and I am going to have to tell my boss goodbye. I am going to have to tell them, because if the boss is the one that's being toxic, then I always believe here that everything starts with a conversation. I do. And it starts with that conversation on the day that an employee walks in the door. I have a nine-page memo that I go over with every person who is joining my team. We actually schedule this time so that I can go over all of my expectations for them and
Okay.
everything that they can expect from me. So we go over that. So everything starts with a conversation. So I would tell someone right now that if they're right now in a position where they are not getting from their leader what they need, to schedule a meeting with their leader. And then what you want to do too is, what do you want the outcome to be? Go into that meeting with what you want the outcome to be. You don't want to go into it with this antagonistic or this, angry, persona, even though you may be, but you want to really make sure that you have your emotional intelligence intact. If at the end of the
Okay.
day,
Yes.
yeah, you want to, at the end of the day, of what you want is a good working relationship with your leader, and you want
Yes.
your
Yes.
leader to be apprised of some things that they may not be aware of. Don't do it in front of anyone either.
Okay.
Don't do it in front of
That's right.
anyone. Do a private meeting. Let them know that I have a crucial conversation I'd like to have with you.
Okay.
That's not always easy for people to have. Crucial conversations are not easy, but they're
Right.
necessary.
But they're necessary.
You have
I
to.
love that. They are necessary. I'm going to post our to post our video. So that's what you see me doing, going here and
Okay.
trying to get it on. But I totally agree with you, because this pandemic did empower people.
It
It
did.
really did. And that's powerful within itself. Because and like I said, oftentimes people don't feel like they have the power. But so just moving a little over to you taking on this leadership role. I did read in your resume that you have had many decades of experience as a leader, and in private as well as uh, federal. Um, but also, what I want to put in there is leader in other areas too, because as a mother, you're a leader,
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
You are a minister, you're a leader. So
Yes,
there are in your community, you a leader. So leadership is really all about influence.
it
And
is.
so how over these decades, um, tell me, how did you just begin to step in that role and just own it?
So it took a lot of mistakes. Okay, it really did. But I have to mention, and when I mention in private, it means in those other things. I've always worked in federal sector. The federal sector has been, my main career. But in the private,
Okay.
I have always, I think what my mother said when I was born, she said, when I came out the womb, she said, the doctor smacked me on my bottom, and I looked at the doctor and said, don't do that. I didn't like that. Don't do that again. So she said, I never remember you talking baby talk. You came out of the womb giving commands. You came out of the wombs
Oh,
directing
wow.
things. You came out of the womb just putting things in order, putting things in order. And I realized that where there is chaos, for whatever reason, I am the one to bring the order. Even where I am right now, if something is going on, they'll knock on my door and say, Miss Jones, this is really bad. How bad is it? Miss Jones, this is really bad. You need to tell me right now. Talk to me. What's going on? And then
Okay.
when they
All
talk to
right.
me, then the wisdom of God comes out. Okay. Because I believe my position is my assignment. It is my God given assignment. So when I then have to speak, then I am speaking what God has told me. But listen, it wasn't always like that, okay? Because I
Okay.
wasn't always where I am right now. It took a lot. It took a lot of mistakes. It took a lot of falling, failures, and people mentoring me. There were people who were always
That's
finding me in
wonderful.
whatever capacity I was in and saying, come here, there's something special about you. And they will pull me to the side. And then they would start
Okay.
giving me those private chats, those private talks, telling me that I was different. You are a little different than some of those other ones. So we're going to keep an eye on you. We see some things that you're doing are not quite, we're a little disappointed in this, or here's where we see you're doing greatly. And then I'm going, okay, then show me. And then I will want that. At the age of 6, I had neighbors and, influence, people who were influential in my neighborhood. My NAACP leader, one of my first mentors, Mr. James Cephers, who's gone on to be with the Lord. He pulled me from my mother at age 6 and said, I need her to start being around these people, these youth in the NAACP. And at the age of 10, I was elected as the president of our youth chapter of the NAACP
Wow,
in my
how
neighborhood.
awesome.
10 years old. So I was thrown the book of parliamentary procedures, told to read that, learn it. And then there I was sitting in city council meetings with Mr. Seifers. And one of the first things that I did was I got the swings put back on the chains, because they were, the little wooden piece of the board was off on one side. So we only had one swing out of 4 or 5. And I said, well, can we get the swings back? Can they just hook them back up? Can we get the merry-go-round painted? So I held that position for 3 years until I became the president of my church choir. And then after that, became a Girl Scout leader. And after that, it's just been team lead positions or supervisory roles and leadership roles from then on out. But everywhere in my life, God has always had someone on the side to do this to me, to pull me to the side and tell me things that they felt that I needed to do differently or to do better. And then I realized one day, maybe about 20 years ago, I'm now that person. I'm pulling people to the side. I'm telling people, come in, my office, let's have a seat, or let's walk and talk. Why don't you walk next door with me? Or why don't we just walk around the building for a moment? And I'm telling people that. I've also had professional coaching. Also, I've had professional coaching who, one of the things that this person said to me was, Lisa, everything that you have been doing has gotten you to good and to great. He said, my role right now is to get you to significant. And I
To what,
thought,
Lisa?
significance.
Significance. All right now.
He said, I need you now to elevate to significance. So, Sarah, there are some things that you are doing right now, you're going to have to change. And let me tell you, when he did that, it made the difference in the world in my influence, okay, in leadership. It made the difference in the world with where I saw myself. And then it made me want to become a coach. And that's what made me go on to become a John Maxwell certified coach, trainer, and speaker.
Yes, that is awesome. We do have someone with us, Erica and Kevin
Awesome.
Darby.
Hi.
Yes, this is awesome. Thank you, ladies, for your insight.
Hi, Erica.
Yes, well, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Yes, so what I wanted to talk more about is that oftentimes, Lisa, people struggle in really understanding their purpose. And early on, you seem to have some idea of the direction God was leading you. And some people may even struggle believing that God has a purpose for
Mhm.
us. And so, was there any struggle for you in just accepting that God had this for you, or just automatically you just begin to step in it, walk in it, and say, you know what, God has purposed me to do this?
I was stepping in it and walking in it, unbeknownst that this is what God wanted me to do. I
Okay.
was just doing it. I was just doing it. This was just who I was, who I am, but I couldn't put my finger on it. So I would get upset with God. I'm not kidding you. I would get upset and say, what is my purpose? What do you want me to do? What am I here for? I could have been Deborah. I could have been Mary. I could have been any of those
All
women.
right, all right.
I say I could have been any of those women back in the days, but for such a time as this, you have me here. What do you want me to do? And
Yeah.
I would just go before him, and then one day I read the scripture in Ephesians 2:10. And this the amplified version. I'm going to paraphrase. For we are God's workmanship, created in Christ Jesus, born anew, that we may do the good works that he predestined, planned beforehand, that we should take the path leading the good life that he prearranged and made ready for us to live. So then I got even more upset. I said, that sounds good. But if you prearranged it and made ready for me to live, what is it?
All
So
right.
then I know for me that when I struggle with anything for a struggle for me, I have to tune everything out. I have to pause. I have to stop. I have to drop. I have to pray and fast. I can't
Mm.
do it without fasting. I have to stop, drop, and pray and fast. And during that time is when I can hear clearly from the
Okay.
Lord. And what he told me when I came out of that fast, I want you to read the book of Isaiah. I was like, what is that supposed to do? I love Isaiah. I already know who he is. Read the book of Isaiah. So every day
Okay.
I would get up and read the book of Isaiah. And then I was just getting, I was like, this is just so wonderful, if nothing more. This is just great. But when I got to chapter 50, verses 4 and 5, for I have given you the tongue of the learned, the
Yes.
tongue, that you may know how to speak a word in due season to those who are weary. I waken you morning by morning to hear as a disciplined one. The words were literally off the page in front of my face. They were off the page. They were really like right in front of my face. And then I said, this is it. This is it. This is what you called me. This is what you've called me to do, to speak life to those who are weary, to bring about peace
Yes.
to those who are troubled. This is what you have called me to do. But I still wasn't sure about what area of this calling and ministry that you called me to the ministry. And that's what he told me. He said, you will remind people of my peace. I have called you to bring calm to chaos. And I've done that all of my life. I am the
Okay.
second oldest of 7 children to a single parent household. And I am the eldest of 3 other brothers that my father had. So being the eldest, I was always the one resolving the issues in the home. I never wanted my mother to worry because I saw what worrying did to her. It made her blood pressure go up and she would be in the hospital. So I would sit at her bed and cry and thinking that if she went to the hospital, she would die. So I never wanted her to go to the hospital. So early on, I would always tell my siblings, whatever is going on, you come to me so that we could get these resolved, and then not that my mother needed protection because my mother was a strong woman. My mother could look at you and you would be in tears. Okay, trust me. Getting that look from the choir stand when I was talking, I just felt that look. And then I look up in the choir stand and be forever, too traumatized because I said, oh, I know what that look is. I know what that look. I'm going to get it. Guys, don't talk to me, please. So my mother was strong in that sense. It was just me thinking, I didn't want her to worry. I always felt that I had to carry the voices for people. I don't know why, but I always felt that I did. So it didn't. So it made sense when I became an advocate for swings at 10 years old, right?
Yes.
In the neighborhood, I was always the one who would stop the bully from bullying kids. And then I was bullied. And then I would have to stop them from bullying me. So it just
Yeah.
went
Yeah. I
on and
love
on
that.
and on, that I was always speaking up for what was wrong to make
Yes.
sure that people understood that this is what's right to do. I always tell people I have a story. Can I share this one little thing with you? You're going to find
Yeah,
it.
just let me back up 1 second. You
Sure.
said that you became something to the voiceless. Is that what you said? I
I
want.
did. I was always the one carrying the voices for those who felt they couldn't carry their voice.
Okay, carrying the voices. I do
I
take
carried the
notes. I do
voices.
want you to know that.
Okay, I see that. I
That's really
did.
powerful, Lisa. I love that.
And that's what
You know,
that happened at the Power of the Table when I first became a lead in a position, in a high enough leadership position where I was finally invited to the table. In the lower level positions, you're not necessarily at the table. Your supervisor is at the table. But then when I finally had a chance to sit at the table and saw the power at the table, and remember, I was the one carrying the voices of my siblings to my mother, and and the NAACP as a child, the Girl Scouts, you name it, the choir.
yes.
I was carrying their voices to the pastor. Well, when I sat at that leadership table and saw the power around it, not for me to go back and think that I'm, anyone, but I saw how decisions were being made at the table that were going to have an impact on the floor. And then I said, well, hold on. Do you realize how this is going to impact the floor? May I tell you how? And then when they finally heard that, because I was acting,
Okay.
gotten in an acting role, but then 6 months later was promoted after I,
Okay.
showed myself at was able to prove myself at the table. I said, this is how it's going to impact. Can we go about this a different way? And
Okay.
they listened and realized that, yes, we could go about this a different way. But here's another thing. I realized that not only could I carry the voices of the people from the floor to the table, but also take the voices from around the table back to the floor so it's not distorted. You see what I'm saying? And that's that,
Okay.
carrying that voice. It's just been one of the things that I've been doing, since I can remember.
So
Carrying the
what I'm
voice.
hearing you say that you really had to listen to what people were sharing and saying.
Absolutely. Listen to their hearts, listen to the things that were going to impact them, make sure that things were going to be fair. I have always been an advocate for what's right. Again, for what's right. If it wasn't, I'm the one that will speak up. Others are fearful of doing that. I probably did not do it in the best way because I had too much emotion in it. But once I learned that I could get so much leverage out of my leadership influence by having my
Mm-hmm.
emotional management in check, then I
Yes.
realized the power of having that at the table. So the
Yes.
power, my superpower was really becoming more emotionally intelligent and having wonderful people management skills to be able to take those things around the table or to whomever and not have my emotions so wrapped up in it. You understand? So
Yes.
not taking on
Yes.
them. But I didn't
Yes.
do that at first. I learned some lessons the hard way. I was the one who would go in there and say, stop, this is what we need to do, as opposed to asking the right questions as we do as coaches.
Yeah, you know what? I love that because we do have to ask the right question.
We do.
And it's easy, we don't think of it, Lisa, and you used the word earlier. We don't think of it as emotional intelligence, or a lack of
Mm-hmm.
um, emotional intelligence. When a lot of times we may say, well, this is the way I am, this is the way God made me, or but that's not really true.
No.
And so oftentimes we're not in touch with our emotions. I know that was one of my issues, that I would get upset, I would get defensive, I would take it personally. And then when I was able to put a name to it,
Mm-hmm.
that it was a lack of emotional intelligence.
Absolutely.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Isn't that a wonderful awakening when you come into that? It is amazing, isn't it?
No.
It is
It's what,
amazing.
Lisa? I'm sorry.
It's amazing when you come into that awareness.
Well, you
With-
know what? What I would have to say, it was like, what? I'm not emotionally intelligent. What? That now, so it wasn't amazing at first, but
it takes some work. Yeah, it takes some
but
work.
it did, Lisa. It did show me the importance of understanding that uh, in order to be really successful, you
Mhm.
have to have the emotional intelligence to go with it.
You
So I have
have
a
to.
Facebook person. If you can go to StreamYard and put your name, that would be great. Said yes, they in agreement with this.
Awesome.
It's just
Awesome.
important. You mentioned something earlier too, Lisa, that I kind of want to go back to. And I want to make sure, were you done with your story? Were you able to share? Because I know you shared the story. Was that the story you wanted to share?
That's one of them. But I was just saying how I like to see. I'm one for one to see things right and done right. One of the things I tell my team members when they come on board, I am your greatest cheerleader and
Yeah.
a partner in your success. I promise you, I am, as much as you will allow me. Okay, because I'm here to see you grow and let you go. Okay, let you go into that next phase of where you want to go. So we'll work together with that. But also say, but let me tell you this: if at any time I have to question your integrity, if at any time you decide that you no longer want to be a person of integrity, I promise you, I will be the one to lead the charge. I will be the one to lead the charge, and you make no mistake about it. I am relentless in it, and I will do that. So I said, so you either have me on the side of you wanting me to partner in your success, or you have me on the side of me leading the charge on you being removed from here. I said, that's the extreme for where we are. So I said,
Uh-huh.
so we'd never have to get there with you doing what you need to do. But they know this on day one. Day one.
Now, even in knowing that, though, Lisa, because there have been, I can count on two fingers, really good supervisors that I've had.
Wow.
And so even saying that, what I would think that, do they automatic? I mean, because trust has to be built. And
And
and so
given.
have you ever had to kind of coach someone into trusting you?
Not so much into trusting me, but me allowing relationship building to cultivate. That's
Yes.
what that
Okay.
whole cultivate authentic relationships to empower. There's a lot on my part that I have to do and being patient with people. And because of the type of work that I do, it is important that integrity is done,
Yes.
and that's
Yes.
all I can say, you say about that. Integrity is crucial, with that. So that's one of this. That's why that statement has to be said in the type of work that we do. The country is depending on the work that we do. Okay, and that's as much as I can say. But with that, it takes a lot for me to be patient as well. I have to realize that whenever you have someone that comes on board, allow time. Allow time. No, and then here's the thing. If you are in a leadership position to be liked, to be, just, oh, I want to be the most popular, most liked, then you will never have those crucial conversations when people need it. You will never do those things that are necessary to make sure that person is on the right path. Everything doesn't have to be punitive. That's the thing that I think leaders fail to see. Everything doesn't have to be punitive. Every action that is not something that is egregious, of course, does not have to be punitive. There are things you can coach people to. I overheard a young lady not too long ago say something to a client that I thought could have been said a little differently.
Yeah.
So I let her know. I called her, I said, how could that have been handled a little differently? I said, what's going on with you? And she said, what do you mean? And then I said, well, this is what I heard. And then when I told her, she was like, but the person was getting on my nerve. I said, I can tell. I can tell. And I said, here's the thing. You don't have leeway for that person to get on your nerve like that because now you made it personal. You made it personal and you didn't take the time to have the patience with that person who was having some difficulty, as I am taking the time with you right now through your difficulty. But after talking to this person a little bit more, well, there were some issues going on at home. But guess
Yeah.
what? They took it out on the client. That's unacceptable. So you have those conversations immediately, but it's bringing that to their attention. Now, would that be, now I know some people who said a supervisor would have written them up for that. A leader, a manager would have written them up for that. Well, no, I'm not going to write it up unless this is something that's ongoing. And I've already talked to you about this over and over. And now I may have to, write you up. But on the onset, no, it was me doing a little bit more of exploring and saying, letting the person know specifically what I heard and how it sounded. And then saying, tell me what's going, are you okay? What's going on? Well, yeah, they were getting on my nerve. But that's so much not like this person. Only to
Okay.
find out there was more going on with that person. And I said, but you allow that to spill out into your interaction with the customer. We can't have that. And they then said, oh my gosh, I didn't realize that. And then I said, yeah, but it's being able to pull people blind sides out and put it right in front of them.
Yeah. Yeah. That is really true. We have Joyce said yes.
Joyce.
Joyce says yes.
And Deneen says yes. Shantae Deneen Miner says yes too. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
On Facebook.
I you know, so let me apologize. I'm gonna have to put this on Enlightened Heart. For some reason, it did not click. Normally, I put the podcast on three of my social medias,
Yeah.
and for whatever reason, it did not click on the other one. So I would make sure that this one gets on it. So if yeah, I know you invited people, and I did too, to go on my business uh, um, social media, but I'll make sure it gets on there because this is a really good, great actually interview
Thank
about
you.
leadership.
I
Because
love
there
that.
are really hurting people out there,
There
Lisa,
are.
and they've been on these jobs and they don't see a way out, and they feel like this is what they have to do to take care of their families.
Sure. Yes.
And you know, when you said about your mom being a single mother, Dr. Mary Seeger is on here,
Hey, Dr.
and she
Mary.
said yes. um, Dr. Seeger and I were talking the other day, and that's one of the things that came out. I told her that 80% of households are single parents in the single of Detroit, but she said it was like 95 now. And I said, wow,
Oh, wow.
Mary, I had not heard that
Yeah.
number, but the bottom line, those numbers are extremely high, and they're
Yeah.
working several jobs and they're trying to make things meet.
Hmm.
um, and so what you're saying is that we still have to develop and watch ourselves.
We do.
um, and so what advice would you give those who are struggling with emotional intelligence, who have the children that they're trying to raise, who trying to be the leader? What advice would you say to them? What coping skills would you even offer up on how to get through those tough times?
So for the leader, I would always tell the leader to stop, pause, take a moment to pause, take a moment to evaluate whether or not you are supposed to be in that role. Okay? And that's the conversation I have with leaders as well.
That's powerful. Yeah.
I have the conversation with leaders to say, if did you take this role because of the money? Okay, it's very good money. Did you take the position because of the money? Or did you take it because you know that you can do the job and make a difference in the lives of everyone that you come in contact with? Also, with this agency and being able to carry out, the mission of this agency. I was having a conversation with someone not too long ago, and then I said, I think I see something differently for you. And I said, and here's why. And I let them know where I see their struggles. That person admitted it. And that person said, you know what? I am going to go home and speak with my spouse, but I think I'm going to step down. And I said, that's a very good decision. Two decisions: to first have that conversation with your spouse, and then to consider doing that, because that person was not serving themselves. They were getting frustrated more and more and more every single day. So it requires a leader to evaluate themselves. You
Yeah.
have to stop. Everything rises and falls on leadership. Our mentor tells us that all the time, Mr. John Maxwell. Everything rises and falls on leadership. So if you as a leader are in a position, you're frustrated about being in that position, it is time for you to have a crucial conversation with yourself and then to move on. You don't have Lisa Joneses in everywhere who will really tell you, yeah, I think it is. Here's some things that I see. Here's some things that I recognize. Here's some things that you really might want to consider. Okay? Because here's the thing. I am not going to let an employee suffer under your leadership. I'm not. That's one of the things that they can bet on. I'm not going to allow that. Okay. So if that person has to keep coming to me when they're supposed to be under your leadership, then guess what? Then there's some problems. Then you and I are going to have to keep having more conversations like this. But I was so thankful that that person realized that they knew that this was no longer something that they, needed to do. Now, I would say for a person who is an employee, you have to evaluate your situation. You have to evaluate your skills, evaluate what your options are. I always tell people, you do not have to stay where you are. You really don't. You are choosing to stay where you are. Some people
Now
say,
that's
well,
powerful right there. That
you're
is so
choosing.
powerful. You're choosing.
You're
That's it.
choosing to stay where you are. I
That's it.
have coaching out conversations with people as well. I do. And they're not antagonistic. I have those conversations where I bring people in and say, I wonder, tell me what you're passionate about. Tell me what you are really passionate about. What is it that if money was no object, what would you really be doing? I know
That's
you
great.
make great money right now, but what would you really be doing? What is your heart telling you you should be doing? And then they start talking and, realizing that that's what they want to do. I said, well, is there a way that you can incorporate that while you're still working? And then they said, I hadn't thought about it because when I get home and blah, 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 blah. So then I started coaching around that whole premise of at least start doing that thing that you love, even if it's for 1 hour a week. We're stop putting it off and start doing that. But here's the thing. If you feel that you can take time away and then, I would tell people, don't just quit your job and you don't have a plan B. Don't just quit, because use where you are working now as your resource to
Yes.
fund your dream.
All
Okay.
right now.
Please do that. Use this
Yes.
time and be excited. Miles Monroe said this. He said, you should go to work every day working as if it is your last day. He said, give it all you have every single day, only for the time that you are required to be at work. Because when you get off, he said, then you go and you work your dream just as hard or even harder. He said, you
All
work
right.
your dream. So at 5 o'clock, your dream starts. But from 9 to 5, you give that employer what they want. But at 5 o'clock, your dream starts. So many people feel that where they're working right now is all that they have, because many people do not know their purpose. They do not know their calling. They're not spending time to check in with self. Everything starts with self, a self
Yes.
check. So it's just quieting everything out and really getting in touch with you and being okay with no to things, because it's a complete sentence, and saying yes to the things that make you happy. Do
Yes.
that.
Yes. Well,
Do
here,
that.
Dr. Seeger has that's so needed, Lisa. Have the candid conversation.
Have
Yes.
them. I have them all the time and I enjoy them. Do you know, I let me tell you, I have team member where it's exciting. We're like, I said, well, if I see a job, I'll show you, and I'm sending it to them. Now I'm about to lose this team member. I know that. But guess what? They're happy and healthy because they realize now that this is no longer working for them. And we've had that conversation. And then I said, well, what are you looking for? I know people. And so when this person told me what they were looking for, I said, well, I'll look out while you're looking out. And I'm sending things to her. So this person will then,
That
Skype
is
me or call me and will
that is
say,
outstanding.
it is. Yeah. So so it doesn't have to be punitive, but are there some where the conversations are a bit more serious? Absolutely. They are.
Absolutely.
They
Well,
are.
I don't want to let you go without us going over to the release of 200 pounds,
Woo.
and also talking about the journey of
Yeah.
God bringing you through cervical cancer,
Yeah.
stage 3. So I'll let you share how you see fit, but I didn't want to let you go without really sharing. This is Christmas. This is Christmas time, and one of the things I've been listening to, Advent, the different Advent services,
Oh, yeah.
and one
Beautiful.
of the pastors said every single problem that Jesus solved was every single miracle he solved the problem. Every
Mm.
miracle solved the problem. And
Yeah.
so I would love for you to share your miracle and how God solved your problem.
2009 started off like any other year. And, although my mother was coming through a health crisis, I decided to give myself that gift that we give ourselves every year, ladies, right? We know that gift, that yearly appointment. And it came back abnormal. And that was the first time ever. And I'm very regular with this appointment. And so the doctor called me in and said that they wanted to send me to an oncologist. Before I knew it, I was before 2 gynecologic oncologists and was being advised that I they had diagnosed me with stage 3 cervical cancer. No symptoms, no irregularities, nothing. I had the first pathological report. Then I said I wanted the second opinion, and both did their own independent, research, and then it did come back the same way. They said it was quite vicious, very aggressive. It was the type that it is eating through so much that from my first report to the second one, there was rapid growth. And they said, we don't want this to get to your internal organs, because once it does, we will not open you up. You will die. So that was death sentence number 1. So of course I had to go to my chief physician. Okay. And I said, I have a partner in this medical, diagnosis as well. I need to go to them. So they told me I didn't have time, that I needed to have surgery within, they said the longest I could wait was 5 to 7 days. And then I said, I need to go into prayer. I told you everything I do, I have to stop, drop, pray, and fast. On the third day of that prayer, the Lord called me into the ministry and then told me, this is not unto death. You shall live and not die. So the doctors gave me the diagnosis, but I depended on my chief physician for the prognosis
Amen.
that I
Amen.
was going to live. So I went back to the doctors and I told them I won't have the surgery in the next 7 days because I was already told that this is not unto death. I will have this surgery on June 29th. That's the day my son goes to camp. Thank you. And they said, you don't understand. They said, well, we wish you the best. I said, you wish me the best? What are you talking about? They said, we won't open you up. It will have spread to all of your internal organs. And so I looked at the doctor. I said, are you the doctor that I read about in the medical books? Are you the one who is competent enough to do this surgery? Because that's the reason that I came to you. He looked at me. He said, why do I believe I'm going to see you on June 29th, which was a month and a half after the date that
Wow.
they told me. They told me this on May 21st, May 19th, actually. And I wanted to have the surgery on June 29th. So he said, why do I have the feeling I'm going to see you on June 29th? I said, because you will. He said, you know, Miss Jones, you're one stubborn patient. I said, no, I'm not, doctor. I'm one steadfast patient.
All
He saw
right.
me on June 29th. And here I am today, 12 years later. To God
12
be the
years later.
glory. Yeah,
How powerful.
to God be the glory. And, you know, he's amazing. So what I didn't know at the time was that because there was no history of cancer in my family, there was no one had cancer at all. I had an aunt-in-law, but she wasn't blood relative who died from cancer. So then I said, how? This just didn't make sense. So I started doing research, and the studies do show that 40% of the cancers in the United States have obesity linked to them. At that time, I was almost 400 pounds.
Wow.
So I realized that at that time, of being 360 something pounds, I needed to do something, but I didn't do anything immediately that got, you know, that released in a lot of weight. I started just cutting back on things and getting my mind ready. So it took 2 years for me to get my mind ready for the weight journey, weight release journey. And in full transparency, I did have the bariatric sleeve procedure, but let's be clear, that surgery in itself does not do it
It
because
does
the
not.
weight release had to take place in my head first. That is what that 2 years was for. And once I got that together, it then took me another 10 years to release over 200 pounds. The
Wow.
first 2.5 years was right after my mother had passed, and I released it. Then about 5 years, right after my mother passed, my father took ill, and I took care of him for 5.5 years. And this January will be 3 years. He's been gone. The last 90 something pounds came off during these last 3 years. So I do know that sometimes that there is a link also to those things that are weighing on you will keep the weight on you. Okay, because during that time I was caring for my father, I did not lose 1 pound.
Yeah.
I did not release 1 pound. You know, I was so wrapped up in him and his care and those things. Now, would I want my mother and father back today, right now? Yes. Oh my goodness. But I do realize that there were some things that in releasing, you know, and grieving and getting through my mother's transition and then getting through my father, I realized that I was releasing other things as well. So every time I had an opportunity to release and grieve, I then took advantage of other things that I needed to bring to the table to grieve as well.
Okay. That's great, Lisa. Um, what I'm really hearing you say that's resonating with me is that it took you 10 years. When
10
you think about the diets that are out there, is it really impressed on people to do it fast, do it quick, do it quick, do it quick.
years.
And when I went through my journey of losing weight, it took me 3 years. But again, like you said, there's that fluctuation. And when the pandemic came, I was still exercising, and I'm not sure. So I love what you said. When things are going on, it really can't interfere with you releasing weight. So for me, it did. It interfered. I gained.
Sure.
Um, And I'm back at it. I'm telling myself, okay, Regina, get back on your journey.
Yep.
And so that's very encouraging,
Yeah.
to really send a message. You don't have to lose it fast.
No, I had the
Dr.
end
Seeger
in
say, praise
mind.
God.
Amen. Thank you. And then I see Shantae is giving some claps there. So praise God. There, the knee minor on there. That's my friend Shantae. So
Okay.
so the thing about it too, I knew what I want the end journey to be. I'm not finished. I'm not done. I still have 30 pounds to go. So the finish, so I'm working back from where I want to be. So if I'm not there yet, if it takes another 2 years, okay, so be it. But guess what? I'm going to get there. I'm going to finish that. I'm going to do that. So, yeah, no, I still have another 30 pounds that I want to release.
Well, Lisa, I'm not sure where you're going to release it from.
I can, yep,
Yeah, you're looking
it's
pretty
there.
good. You're looking pretty thin. So I'm not
Thank you.
sure, Lisa, where you're going to release it from.
Yes, there's a few more to release, and I'm enjoying the journey. I'm enjoying the journey of creativity with the foods. I'm enjoying the journey with how the Lord is leading me on how to eat. Meal prepping has now become another self-care thing that I do that I just absolutely love. When I get in the kitchen and I start meal prepping, I am in another world. I am just so relaxed in that. And you know why? I'm at peace, and it's for me.
It's
I'm
for
at peace,
you.
and it's strictly for me. Self-care is not selfish, it's necessary. So, leaders, if you are not practicing self-care, could this be the reason why your leadership influence is not at the level where it should be?
Mm.
Because you are not starting with you. You matter, leader. You matter more than anything. And if you do not take care of you, that everything else you're taking care of is not going to be in order. It's going to be a reflection of you. How are you showing up? How are you showing up? Do you like what you see? Do others like what they see in you?
That's
If they
awesome.
don't, it's time to take inventory and get a coach. Get a coach. I am here. Regina is here. We are certified coaches that love
Yes.
to train, to help leaders on this path. We have success with it and definitely would love to do it. I am so thankful to the coach I had, and I keep a coach. Coaches keep coaches, just like as counselors keep counselors. We keep coaches too. That's
That's
another
great.
area of my love is counseling as well. So definitely love.
That's awesome.
And
So
my
we
team members
down
get the
to
benefit of
1 minute.
all.
I'm
Okay.
sorry.
I said my team members get the benefit of all of that. People who come in contact with me, they get the benefit of all of who I am. Okay, because you can't turn it off. It's all of who I am. So if you need to be coached, you're going to get some coaching. You need some counseling, you're going to get that. Of course, I have to keep things, in perspective because I can't legally counsel people like that. I know, but I can use the skills. Okay, I should say, use some of the skills to
Yes.
really help with my emotional management and to help people get in touch with theirs. But I do refer people to our employee assistance program for all type of counseling.
See, that's awesome. So we down to 1 minute or less. And you mentioned John Maxwell, and we are sisters of the DNA,
Yes,
and so is Dr. Mary Seeger. And
yes.
it has been such a joy to have you on here
Thank
today.
you.
I want to share with them your free gift, but also let you share some parting words of encouragement with the audience.
And I will say it again that I believe that, there are so many things that come in the way of who we are. And if we just take the time to just do a little inventory, please take time in this 2021 right now to take inventory of who you are, yourself, do self management right now, self management. Start looking at those things that were external to who you are. And now you believe those things, and they are probably lies that you've been carrying all your life. You do not have to believe those things about you. I want you to tap into that. Tap into your internal dialogue. What are some of those things that you're saying about yourself that are not true, but then I want you to start saying those wonderful things about you that God says that you are. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are his works, okay? He
Yes.
who began a good work in you will perform
Will
it until the
complete it.
day of Jesus
Yes.
Christ, and he will perfect that which concerneth you. He is on your side. You are more
Yes.
than a conqueror. He has so much in his word that will let you know who you are and whose you are in him. But I ask you today, make today your January 1st. Start today to take inventory of who you are and then what you have been called and purposed to do. And if there's anything that's outside of that, put the brakes on it, say no, and stay straightforward and focused on that which God has purposed for you to do, because there are people who are assigned to your voice and to your purpose. So live your purpose on purpose starting today, January 1st, on December 24th.
All right. All right. Well, thank you so much for that. You can email Lisa at 𝐿isa_Yvette_Jones@gmail.com with success in the subject line, and or text success to 248-952-8122.
I'll send my seven-step strategies for leaders
Yep,
on
and
how
I'm
to
ready to show that.
yes.
And you can get the 7 strategy leadership self-care success strategies. Again, you can go to 𝐿isa_Yvette_Jones@gmail.com with success in the subject line, and or text to 248-952-8122, and you can get her 7 strategies leadership self-care success strategies. All right. All right. All right. All right. Well,
Thank you
this
so
has
much for
been
having me. I'm so
delicious.
honored.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And we have to have you back again, Lisa.
Thank
I have
you.
enjoyed this immensely. I want to thank the audience, and I will be
Thank
sharing
you,
this.
everyone.
And thank you for staying all the way through. For those who were able to do so, God bless you, and have a Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, everyone. Merry
I
Christmas
got it
again
here,
to you and your
Lisa.
family.
Have a Merry Christmas and a happy, happy New Year. God bless you.
Bye-bye.
Bye
Happy New
bye.
Year. Bye-bye.